guys, so quick video. Somebody's asked on the channel, bird shooting on the A6700, what settings would I use? Obviously, depending on what the light's doing, the sun is now behind the clouds over there, so unfortunately the light's not going to be brilliant. Depending on what lens you're using as well, I'm using the 200-600, which is the fastest aperture at 600 is f6.3. So I'm going to look at the light situation that we've got at the moment for the birds over there, and I'm going to need probably ISO 2000 at least to get 1,000th of a second shutter speed. So at the moment the light is available, I would say 1,000th of a second shutter speed upwards. God knows what's going on. I think my screen cover's coming off my phone because here it's all blurry. That's weird. At least 1,000th of a second shutter speed. Ideally 1600 to 2000 upwards would be ideal. At the moment I'm ISO 2000. The lens is sharp at f6.3. You could go slightly deeper, f8 if you really wanted to. With the crop sensor you've got a little bit more natural depth anyway compared to a full frame sensor. So with the A1 it might be more beneficial if I actually shot at f8 just to get a little bit more depth, but with the A6700 f6.3 is probably absolutely fine. In the setup I've got my recognition set to bird, so that's I autofocus on the birds and tracking as well, and I would generally shoot with the autofocus area on zone or tracking zone. Burst shooting probably high or medium, depending on what you want to do. I tend to have all my cameras generally on medium to high, and I just dab shoot. So you know, I just go two or three shots. The buffer's clear on these so quickly anyway, it's not really a problem anymore, but I don't like having to look through thousands of shots just to look at one, so unless it's something very special. Other than that, that's the camera sat up really. That's on a bird feeder. In flight, at least 1/2000th of a second, I would make sure you get a really sharp shot of a bird in flight. Not that we're going to get anything fly past. Well, there's a few about, but the light's terrible now. I don't know, depending on what lens you've got. If you've got a 200-600, it's going to give you 900mm equivalent of magnification compared to the full frame, which would be 600. So you have got a little bit of benefit, especially if you were shooting, obviously with the A1, I've got 50 megapixels, so I have more resolution, so I can crop in a little bit. Obviously with 26 megapixels at 900mm equivalent, if you had something like the A9 II or an A9, which is around about 24 megapixels, this is actually going to be better on this lens generally anyway, because you've got a bit more magnification for the same or thereabouts resolution. So yeah, huge difference. Anyway, I'm going to go and shoot some shots, see if I can get a couple, and then I'll show you what the settings were as I shoot them. But had a good Christmas and everything. I'll be back for some more videos soon. Hopefully this has helped somebody out there with the A6700, but it's generally A6700, the A7R5, the A7C2 and the A7CR have all got the same autofocusing systems now with the AI chip as such. Even though I still go back to the A1 over the A6700, just faster focusing. It's not as intelligent, but speed sometimes wins. So anyway, I'm going to try and get some shots. I'll see you later. So these birds are quite tame actually, and I'm around about 20 feet back from them. Here comes a blackbird, or thrush actually. Oh, I've got him. So the A6700 is very intelligent. Like I said, with the A7R5, the A7C2 and A7CR and the A6700, we've all got this new chip, which obviously deals with the autofocus intelligence separately compared to the autofocus itself, I guess. So it is a bit more intelligent than the A1, for example. So once it spots a bird, it will generally hang on to it a bit easier, and kind of gauges where it's possibly going to be next, direction and what it's doing. And even if it's not looking directly at you, it still knows it's a bird. So yeah, it can be quite good. Right guys, so this shot here is shot at 1/1000th of a second, f6.3 and ISO 10,000. I have added some noise reduction to this via Photoshop, so pretty impressive to be fair. This shot here was, again, same settings exactly, and some noise reduction added into Photoshop. And actually the noise control is very, very good out of the camera. And I added a little bit. This one here, a bit of a moving shot, as it almost got ruined by blue tit. Exactly the same settings again, 1/1000th of a second, ISO 10,000, f6.3. And the next shot is the bird on its own, which was, again, exactly the same settings. So where the light's not changing, I can keep my settings pretty much identical. But again, some noise reduction, a little bit of grain in the background, but actually not too bad at all. So the camera is extremely capable. And this one here was, again, 1/1000th of a second, f6.3, ISO 10,000. Very, very good bit of kit. And then I swapped over to the A1. So I know this is not the A6700, but you can do this with the A6700. I just used the A1 for this. So 240 frames per second, slow motion, and also some 4K 120 slowed down, so 8 times slow motion or 4 times slow motion, just so you can see these birds, because they are so quick. They are in and out before you can even blink. They are that quick. So really, really good to be able to actually capture this. And you can see here, it just adds a little bit of life and sort of smooth looking and sort of more graceful looking to the footage. So it's really quite good. In a second I will show you the setup in the camera of how and what I was using exactly, so you can kind of see. But yeah, it's end of the day, depending on what your light situation is how your settings are going to be affected. So you could shoot fully auto, you could shoot shutter priority, so you set your shutter speed and let the camera do the rest, which is, if you're new to it, it's probably the best starting point. So put it in the S mode on the dial, and then adjust your shutter speed and leave the camera to do the rest. As you can see here, pecking order, I think this is what you call. So, yeah, didn't like the fact that it was trying to jump the queue, but that all happened so fast, and luckily I could slow it down by 4 times. The other bird's like, what the hell's going on? Right, anyway, so you can see here that you go into ISO and you can go across to the right hand side and you can set your auto maximum and minimum. So I left it at 10,000 in the end, because that's usable. ISO 100 to 10,000 is plenty. But also depending on what lens you're using. So you could be using a 135 f1.8, which lets tons of light in, so your ISO would be naturally much lower. But sometimes you need to adjust your ISO manually so you can actually get what you want in shot, because sometimes the light behind your subject might actually be causing trouble with your light reading. Here we go. So into the recognition of your subject. So you can either have animal or bird, or you can have bird on its own. I generally, if I'm shooting birds, I will probably shoot with it set to bird only. And then on your tracking, or the focus tracking, have it on zone, which is that one, or on wide. I think that works pretty well. If you've got to shoot through small little twigs and things like that, it might be worth putting it into a small spot. But other than that, that is pretty much how I shoot generally. So I hope that helps. Please click the subscribe button, little notification bell as well. Any questions, feel free to ask below, and I'll go into a bit more depth if need be. And I'll see you soon. Cheers, bye.